Hey everyone, thank you for listening to another episode of Spoiler Force Podcast. You can find more episodes on any major podcasting platform such as Apple Podcasts, Spotify, iHeartRadio, SoundCloud, and even on YouTube. Don't forget to subscribe and make sure to follow and like Spoiler Force Podcast on Facebook.
What's up, everybody? This is Ming Chen from AMC's Comic Book Men. Listen, I have a podcast studio. I do multiple podcasts. I listen to Kevin Smith's podcast. Those podcasts don't matter. The only podcast that matters, Spoiler Force Podcast. They record in Michigan, my friends. And if that's not an indication of how awesome this podcast is, my man Ricky Veng, the host, he's Asian. So that's all you need to know. I love the Spoiler Force Podcast. Listen to it, subscribe to it, like it, download every episode, and then do all that all over again because I love Ricky and I love the Spoiler Force Podcast. This is Ming Chen. I love you, Ricky. I love Spoiler Force Podcast. Listen to it, everybody.
All right, so this is episode 66 of Spoiler Force Podcast. My name is Ricky, and thank you for tuning in. So this week's guest is someone all the way from Puerto Rico, my first Latin guest on the podcast. So this is going to be very fun to have someone different. So if you've heard my episodes before, I've had someone from like the UK or from Germany and then from Singapore recently as well. So it's great to have different cultures and different diversity on my podcast. The guest here is a cosplayer. We've exchanged emails and contact information through the Anime Expo Lite event that happened back in July. So I can't wait to bring her on. Let me introduce my guest here, Nyah Cosplays. Thank you so much for being on the podcast.
Hello, my name is Nyah Cosplays. Nice to meet you all.
So, like I was saying before, we exchanged contact information through the Anime Light Expo event, the streaming event on. I think they did it through Twitch and YouTube, and that's how I met like most of my new guests. Really, was through that event. I was just like spamming my podcast on there, and then waiting to see who was going to respond. And you were one of the few that did. So thank you so much for the opportunity. Being from Puerto Rico, that's pretty cool. Like to have someone all the way from there, and to, not only that, but like for my podcast to be recognized all the way from there too. So that's great to have like, listeners and people who are from different areas to want to be a part of the podcast. So again, thank you for this opportunity. Currently, right now with this pandemic, how are you holding up so far over there?
Well, over here, things are okay. People are kind of like still going out, like we're supposed to be quarantined, and people are still kind of going out. But overall, at least me and my family, like we've been staying here in my house, like quarantined mostly, like we've barely been going out. And, like it's mostly been that. There's still like, as for like the schools and everything, like for the education, there are still like debates whether they will open up schools or not. Like public schools will remain closed and they'll have online classes, and colleges are kind of like not agreeing with that idea. So we'll see what's going to happen.
And you're currently a student still, or
Yes,
are you
I'm
working?
A student.
Okay. You're going to college?
Yes, I am I just entered my second year studying.
Perfect. And what are you going for?
Well, I'm going to study like eventually biology, so I can move towards medicine, and I can study being like surgery. But at the moment, I'm studying like mathematics, but slowly like I'll move to biology and medicine the rest.
Were you taking any online courses at all? I know like colleges were doing that during this pandemic as well.
Well, during the summer, I didn't take any, but like there was some point like halfway through our second semester that like we just like entered the whole quarantine thing, and the rest of the classes had to be like online.
Okay. So you've been enjoying, I guess, your time off then, just working on cosplay then?
I haven't really been working on cosplay. It's been like a little bit difficult for me personally, but I have seen a lot of people that have taken the opportunity to work on their cosplays. I've been trying to come up with new ideas and try to work on the craftsmanship and maybe some makeup skills for my future cosplays.
Yeah, cosplaying. There's like so many different varieties now with like how big this community is growing and with how people are creating costumes. Like some people are doing like the whole craft style where they're building it from scratch or from like the bottom up, building like a lot of the more popular ones are like the armored ones or the armored type cosplays. Some people still do like very like I had a friend who went to like stores and bought different like clothing and um similar clothing to the character from like stores and from like Salvation Army and stuff like that, just to build up something similar to that. So there's different ways of cosplaying now, which I think it's amazing to see how big this community's grown. Because I've never really attempted cosplaying. I always admired it because I don't have like the art skills to do it, and it's very. I didn't realize how time consuming cosplaying was. I had Amber Skies, who's a cosplayer from Arizona. She was talking about like how long it took her to build like one of her cosplays for a convention, and how she would balance that with work, and then also like just to make sure to make sure the costume would stay in that built um, like to maintain being built instead of like falling apart. So I think seeing cosplayers go through all of that during conventions and seeing when cosplayers have like a mishap happen during the convention, which I feel so bad for. Um, but yeah, it's a very uh, difficult trait to do. And what's great about cosplay too is like people are learning how to sew and learning how to use like machines to create their cosplay. So like you're learning hands-on skills while doing that. Um, so Naya, as you're cosplaying, what kind of inspired you to just kind of start doing cosplaying and getting into the whole community?
Well, it all started when I went to my first convention. That was, I think that I was like in 8th grade. My parents always went to Comic Con, which is basically the biggest convention in all of Puerto Rico. Like people from all around basically go there, and it's like the big meetup place. I guess it's like the biggest convention. You can consider it like an anime expo, or like it's our anime expo, like big conventions like that. So my parents went there a lot, and I was always like, oh, I want to go, and like they would never bring me, like they would always bring me like gifts and stuff, but they would never take me. And eventually they decided that, I think that was for my birthday, I don't remember, but they took me to the convention, and I remember that when I went there, first of all, I wanted to cosplay. I don't remember how I knew about cosplay. I think it was of the show Heroes of Cosplay. I think it was that show that I got like inspired and motivated to join cosplay. And when I went to the convention and I saw all of these people like dressed in different characters, and like I was freaking out. But then afterwards, when I sat down in the car, I just remembered all of the happy moments I had meeting those people and seeing the characters being brought to life. So that experience was mainly my kind of like main motivation to pursue cosplay.
Yeah, it's always like meeting different cosplayers or people who dress up really well at conventions that really inspire like new cosplayers or people who want to get into that kind of into the community like that. I think when I first was exposed to cosplay, it was like a long time ago. Like my cousin, I never went to any conventions until like my late teen years, like so pretty much after I graduated high school. But my first exposure to cosplay was like through all the Naruto stuff. My cousin had it was before like Facebook. We were still like on MySpace. That's how long ago it was. And so like we were looking through cosplay photos, and like we were just going through and seeing how like these cosplay girls from Japan would dress up as Naruto and Sasuke and would outdo the guys who would cosplay these male characters. So like that's how I got really hooked into the cosplay community. And it wasn't until like I went to um I think Anime Expo was the first like big anime convention I went to. It wasn't until I went there and I saw like a variety of how many different cosplayers were there, and just different skills, and all these different types of characters were there, and it was super cool just to see that everyone was there at that convention. And Anime Expo is such a huge convention too. So like some people are there just to cosplay, and then some people are there for like the panels and whatnot. But yeah, like just seeing that was like, even I had that rush where like, damn, I should try cosplaying. But like I said before, I don't have the art skills for it, and it's definitely for me at least, it's very difficult for me to try. And what's great about cosplay too is like it's so good for social media exposure, and like a lot of photographers take photos, and you might get like be featured in a blog or some sort of newspaper. Yeah, have you had any experience with like people like wanting to do like professional photo shoots with you, or like trying to, I guess, like feature you in their content?
Sadly, no. um, I'm basically starting out in cosplay, so my good cosplays have been recently done. So basically, I haven't done a good enough cosplay that a photographer comes up to me and is like, "Can I take your picture?" And then afterwards, going to work with them. There was this one small occasion. I think it was my second convention or my third, that I went with a group of friends dressed as the main characters from Bleach, the anime. And between my mom and my stepdad and I, we did Ishida's bow and arrow. And it was like, I still have it there. It was like huge and amazing. And this photographer came up to my friend who had it and was like, "Oh, can I take your picture?" And he was like, "Oh, sure." And then I'm just like standing with my friend beside him, and the photographer just like looks at me and is like, "Do you, like, I guess you can come in." And basically, the picture wasn't intended towards me, but I ended up being part of it. I think that was the closest experience that I can recall at the moment.
Do your parents help you with the props too, creating the props for your cosplays?
When I started out, since I had a big group of friends that I wanted to involve in cosplay as well, then they helped me like at that moment. But afterwards, they've been either like supportive on it mostly. My mom has like sometimes told me that she can help me with stuff, but mostly like I try to learn things by myself and do them myself so I can like be proud of my own works. So they do help me, like they have offered help, but not I haven't necessarily like taken it.
Okay. Yeah, because I know with creating props, it's pretty difficult. Like I've said before, with the whole armor creations, and with weapons, some people don't even like create their own weapons. Some people have to like resort to buying someone else's craft online, or someone borrow someone that they know. For me, that's what kind of intimidated me. It really was just trying to figure out what to use to create like weapons or extra featured like items or bags that the character wears. um I tried to like learn that stuff. I just couldn't comprehend it because there was just so much material being used. Like a lot of people use like the foam, and foam is really common for cosplay, which I did not realize. I forgot what type of foam, but I
The
know
Ella
cosplayers,
home.
yeah, like cosplayers use that a lot. And then just like being creative with what you have. Sometimes you might not be able to find the exact uh items that you need, so you have to be creative. And I think that's what really keeps a lot of good cosplayers on their feet, is when you have to use something that's not really meant for that item, or for your, I guess, for your look, but then still trying to play it off and make it look really creative. um you mentioned your group of friends that you cosplayed with. Are these also like cosplayers that you mentioned before in the when we were exchanging emails, like trying? No, not them.
No, no, they basically they got into the cosplay thing, and that was like a one-time thing for them. They were like, "Nope, not
Oh,
doing
okay.
this again." So no, it's not them.
Have you met any, I guess, major cosplayers at all? Going to conventions?
Not going to conventions. Yaya Han had come to Puerto Rico to like the Comic Con, and I was this close to getting a picture with her. But sadly, I couldn't. Basically, like I think I've met like a few major cosplayers, like really recognized online, but not in person. Like in person, they just come and I didn't know that they were here, or I had the opportunity to do it and for some reason I couldn't. So
Okay.
that, you know.
Yeah, I met Yaya Han back in Michigan Comic Convention 2019 around that time. Um, she my experience with her, like I don't want to bash her, but like my experience with her was okay. Like she was nice to me, but I didn't the guys that were like her security, that's what kind of ruined my experience, because obviously there's a lot of weird people that go to the conventions and want to meet the really pretty cosplayers, so like they act weird or do weird things. So I understand why security was kind of like really not so much rough, but like they were just
Overprotective.
yeah, because like I went when I went to meet Yaya, I had like these Marvel comic covers that she was featured on. It was like for the cosplay covers that they have every summer. It was one of them's. I think one of them's the one that you were interested in. I think you mentioned you messaged me on Twitch. It was like
Yeah, I think so.
there was the what was it? I had the Scarlet Witch one. Yeah, so I still have that. So anyone who's listening, if you're interested in that, you can contact me with the information in the description of the video and whatnot. But yeah, like I had her sign some of the Marvel comic covers that I had, and then like when I went to take the picture with her, obviously like you gotta be polite when you either put your arm around her or don't even touch the cosplayer. But like the security guy got really aggressive, and he was like, better watch yourself. He was like trying to get in my face about it. So I'm like, whoa, okay. So I'm definitely not gonna I'm not gonna try to get close to Yaya. And then like I don't know. I that kind of ruined my experience with her. Hopefully, if I ever meet her again, it'll be different. But yeah, other than that, I like most of the other recognized cosplayers I met were mostly at Anime Expo too. Like I met Stella Chu there. I met Vampy, or Linda Lee, and I also met like Amber Skies. That's where I first met Amber Skies there. So like it was like the experience at Anime Expo is a lot different than meeting Yaya and here in Michigan. So I don't know. I just kind of was like not so much shook, but like I said, it was just kind of weird because like the guy had to get all rowdy about it. Um, but yeah, with these cosplayers too, like they're making like such a huge turn in the social media, like social media outlet and stuff like that. Like I don't know if you're familiar with like Ivy Doomkitty. She's really like she advocates for like cosplaying and for like body image and like body positivity image really. And like how do you look on that too? Like when cosplayers give either look down upon, or like like when I don't know if you've experienced this, but there has been like people who cosplay that they mention like uh, they've had bad experiences at conventions because of how they dressed, and like how people either try to harass them or said some cruel things to them. Have you ever experienced anything like that at all?
I for like body or skin wise, I haven't. I am very like against people who are like, no, because you don't have the correct skin type or like the correct body type, like you shouldn't do the character. I am against that because cosplay is mostly for fun. And these people aren't paying the cosplayers, for the materials or whatever thing they're going to use or whatever thing is needed. So I don't think that it's like they should bash on cosplayers for like, for their cosplays because they're not paying for it or anything. That's just their opinion. And all in all, it's for fun. As for, I've had friends that like have gone through certain experiences, like similar experiences. I haven't personally, but I know some of them have. And, like it's not, it's not a good situation because there's, I'm kind of like getting out of the whole topic thing, but when you receive a lot of positive comments, it doesn't matter how many you receive, there's always that one negative comment or one of these few negative comments that kind of like makes an impact on you. And like you can have, let's say, 50 positive comments, and you're not having, like, you're just going to remember that negative one because that's the one that's going to be like on your mind, like maybe what did I do wrong or what can I do to make it better. These types of thoughts that may be negative for the cosplayer and stuff. I kind of like went out of the way. I'm sorry.
That's okay.
Um,
No, I
um,
understand completely too. Like, seeing cosplayers go through that, like, with just negative comments and with how people, I don't know, with like how, I guess, with how these trolls just want to get a reaction out of these cosplayers. Like, I've seen, like, what's crazy is I still see this today. With especially with women cosplayers, where they cosplay different characters that, like you've mentioned, that don't match their skin type or that don't even match how they look physically, and like comments would be like, you shouldn't do that, that's not right, or all these trolls just try to bring them down. And some cosplayers take their criticism or the comments, while some don't. But for me personally, I feel like that's something that we shouldn't be encouraging, especially with how big anime is growing. And like, it's sad to see that, like, how there's different groups, or there's like different I guess third party communities that try to change what anime is, because like anime is so broad. There's so many different genres, there's so many different categories of anime shows or characters, and like you said, it's all meant for fun. And I don't know, I feel like uh with characters, it shouldn't matter how you dress up, as long as you showcase, like, your love for the character, or be or like, just to showcase that character. Like, for me, like, if I wanted to dress up as like Naruto or something, then go ahead, just dress up as Naruto, like, just showcase that I love Naruto, and I want to dress up in the orange and blue jumpsuit or something like that. But yeah, I've seen too, like, where I'm trying to figure out who the cosplayer was, like, I don't know if you're familiar with her, like Joni Broses. Like, she is a she's a well-known cosplayer, but she has like keloids, which is like a skin deformity or something like that. I don't know too much about it, but it's physically visible. And she was, before, she used to kind of just cover it up, but now she's like, accepting of it, and people were like questioning it and saying some really crude things just because of that. And I don't know, like, it's crazy to see how like trolls try to nitpick like what cosplayers should do. And then what's funny is too, like, these trolls don't even cosplay themselves, so they have no experience in what it is and how hard it is to be a part of this community. Now, when you've gone to conventions, is the I guess the Puerto Rico Comic Con, is that the only one you've been to? Do you go to any smaller conventions at all?
I've gone to I think last year, before the whole thing started, I started like exposing myself to more conventions, because the only convention that I had ever been was Puerto Rico Comic Con. And I think that I attended two small mall conventions. I attended one day, which is in Carolina, which is like somewhere close to where I live, and then another one in another mall. I attended there 2 days. But that has been like my only exposure outside of like Comic Con, basically.
Now, do you prefer like comic conventions or anime conventions? I know they're kind of like the same thing, really, but with the genres of like comic books versus anime, I know people like to split hairs on that. So, which one do you prefer to go to?
Honestly, over here, like, I guess that we don't really have that main difference thing. Like, I guess that over here, in both conventions, they just sell comics and anime related stuff, and like, we don't really have that difference thing that maybe in the US they do. It's like it's all meshed up in one thing, basically.
Okay, yeah, that's a smart idea, to kind of just keep both communities together versus like splitting them up, because like, and here where I live in Michigan, like, there's always like either like a small anime convention or a small comic book convention. Like, there's still always like a little bit of what they have, but then like some are more concentrated on like the anime theme or versus the comic book theme. So it's always like different. For me, I'm trying. I wanted to, before this pandemic hit the world, I wanted to do more anime conventions, because I was getting back into the anime scene and rewatching all like these classic animes, these new animes and stuff like that. But I can't now because of COVID. And plus, like, from my experience, the anime conventions are much more they're nicer to my money than comic book conventions because comic book conventions are so much more expensive. Um,
What's
and,
like
and
difference between them? Like, what kind of things do they have? Like, one convention has that the other doesn't.
well, from my experience, the comic book conventions, there's always like different comic book writers there, like major writers from like DC or Marvel there, or like Image Comics. Um, and now with the explosion of Comic Con because of like San Diego and New York Comic Con, people want to go there to meet like TV stars or voice actors or anyone that's exposed in the mainstream media. Like for example, like The Walking Dead, people want to go meet those actors. So like that's what kind of like skyrocketed a lot of these Comic Con prices and like the events, like because they're growing massively. And um, with anime conventions, it's mostly like voice actors from what I've seen so far. Because like I don't know if they brought in like any Japanese live actors or stage actors before, but I haven't seen any. But yeah, but with anime conventions, it's always just more about like the manga, the mainstream anime, the producers, voice actors, or at least in the states, the English voice actors. I have yet to have met any Japanese voice actors yet. I've seen the Naruto voice actress at Anime Expo. I've only seen her. I didn't get to meet her. My friend was so lucky. He went to the wrong line. He went to the line to go like get to look at figures, but he went to the wrong line. He ended up meeting her at her table, and supposedly you were supposed to have like a pre-ordered ticket or like something to show proof, and they didn't check him. He just got through, and he got to meet the original Naruto voice actress. I was so jealous. I'm like, you asshole. Like he didn't even tell us. He just got there, and then he went and like I don't know if he took a photo with her. I forgot what he did, but he met her, and then he came out the line. He's like, "Dude, Ricky, I just met the Naruto voice actress over there." I'm like, what the fuck? Like you didn't tell us. Like he just went off on his own, and he just came running back to us. I'm like, are you serious? Like we were all like just wandering around the convention, and you got to meet her without telling us. So like it was weird. How like that's why like with anime conventions, I kind of found it was weird. Like Funimation, when I went to Anime Expo again, like Funimation had like you had to pre-order like your tickets to meet the English voice actors there. You couldn't just walk up to them like Comic Con where like you can just go into the line and wait all day to meet them. So that's why like there's some differences there. With Comic Cons, like it's easy. That's definitely easier to meet the celebrity you want to meet, but then like you waste almost a quarter or half your day just waiting in line if you don't have like VIP tickets or if you don't have like pre-ordered autographs. But yeah, but like I said, it's just splitting hairs, to each their own. I would prefer like if anime conventions were as mainstream as comic conventions in the States, I would do that. But the prices for anime conventions are just so much lenient. But yeah, like it's definitely something I wanted to do. And with anime this year too, like being so explosive, had it not been for COVID, like I wanted to see like uh, I don't know if you've seen the recent trailer for like the Demon Slayer movie, like that was released a couple days ago. No, you haven't. Have you watched Demon Slayer? I don't. No. Oh, you are missing out on one of the best animes ever. Well, it's only one season, but then like the manga ended earlier this year, like in the spring. So I read through. I binged read through all of that once season one ended. If anyone's listening, definitely if you have not watched or read Demon Slayer, that's something to go to. Some folks were kind of upset with the ending. I'm not going to spoil anything, but um, I absolutely loved it from beginning to end. I love the plot, the story, just the artwork. Well, the manga artwork was like really derpy, kind of, but then when you watch how they animated with the anime and how Ufotable does it, it's so amazing. But yeah, the newest trailer just dropped. I think like it was earlier this week or late last weekend. Um, and then I've been catching up on like Goblin Slayer. Have you watched any of that? No.
I'm so sorry.
It's okay. Yeah, like Goblin Slayer is more like it's a more hardcore anime. It's like borderline rated R pretty much, but I've been getting back into that. On this topic though, Nyah, like what animes are you into? I know you said you mentioned Bleach, and then on your Instagram you've also cosplayed like Uraraka from My Hero.
Yeah.
So are there any other animes that you're into?
Um, here's the thing. I mostly know about animes, but I don't necessarily have the time to watch it. But animes that I have watched are My Hero Academia, Bleach, Naruto, Soul Eater. I've also watched a lot of like slice of life and like rom-coms, like Kaichu wa Mitsuma, Achikochi, and like Toradora as well. Like I've watched a lot of animes, but that was mostly like in the past. Since I'm kind of like busy now, then it's kind of hard to catch up and keep up and stuff. But I
I've
watch a
been
little bit of everything.
Yeah, that's what I was gonna say. Like I've been trying to do that too. Like I've been slowly getting into more like slice of life, rom com type animes too. Like the latest one I've been, or at least the latest one I watched today of the day of the recording here. The latest one I watched was Rent a Girlfriend, and that's obviously one of the newer ones of this summer. And then I actually that anime is like just for me. I enjoyed it just because I wasn't expecting it to be good. That's all. Like that's how it is with like slice of life type animes for me. Like
Yeah.
that throw me off. Like one of my favorites is Miss Kobayashi's Dragon Maid. Like
Oh yeah, I started watching that one as well.
I was not expecting that one to be as good as it was. Like it's a very cute anime. You know, it's very simple. Just a very simple plot line with Kobayashi meeting the dragons and just their daily life. Um, but I didn't expect it to be that good. And then one I always mention to on the podcast is Konosuba, which is a comedic isekai themed anime. And I don't know, something about comedy or comedic animes is what I enjoy it so much because it's so different from like all the serious toned animes out there, like for example, like Naruto or Bleach and stuff like that. Like Konosuba is just jokes after jokes, and you think there's a serious moment, and then they just turn it into something funny. But if anyone who's never seen Konosuba as well, that's one I highly recommend. Um, but yeah, it's there's like anime is just so crazy these past few years. You know, like a lot of athletes, a lot of celebrities are starting to like like give exposure to anime, and a lot of people are a lot of new watchers or people who are like low key secretly watching it are now like saying like, how much they love anime. So I think that's great that this genre is making such a big wave really out here, like in in the States and in the Latin areas as well, and not just over in the East. If you like podcasts like me and want to start your own, use Buzzsprout. Buzzsprout is a very effective and easy way to begin your podcasting journey. With easy to use tools, Buzzsprout can help you get your podcast to major podcasting platforms like Apple Podcast, Spotify, iHeartRadio, and more. You can view stats, create audio clips, and even have your own podcasting website. Buzzsprout has helped hundreds of thousands of people to begin their own podcasts like myself, and you can find ideas, tips, tricks, video tutorials to better your own podcast. Follow the link in the description to start your own podcast today, and once you sign up, you'll get a $20 Amazon gift card. This lets Buzzsprout know that I sent you, and this also helps support Spoiler First Podcast. Happy podcasting. Do you struggle with eating junk food and late night snacking? Well, I've been using FNX Sports Rebalance Super Greens, and I've been able to control my eating habits, get my daily vitamins, fiber, and loose fat around my stomach area. The Rebalance Super Greens comes in multiple flavors and is easy to use by just mixing the supplement in water. You can drink this anytime during the day and feel energized without any groggy after effects. Use the code SPOILERFORCE, all one word, SPOILERFORCE, and get 15% off your very first order. Um, so, talk about like how your process was like just building your cosplays. Like, do you like building it from scratch, or do you go out and buy your materials, or buy the clothes that are similar to the characters?
I am actually more of a closet cosplay. Like that's what they call it now. Like they call it. And basically, it's taking whatever thing you have in your closet and like turning it into a cosplay. For example, one of my first cosplays that I had done was Sumiki from Achikochi, and I literally like all of the clothes that I had on, I had like taken it out of my closet. The only things that weren't from my closet was the bow that I was wearing I bought it in like Party City, and then I painted it and glued it together. And the wig, which I bought like on eBay, I think it was. But mostly I do closet cosplay. The rest of the clothes, like this dress, for example, is supposed to be Sophie's dress from Howl's Moving Castle, and this one I bought it. Um, if I don't buy them, then I just do the whole closet cosplay thing. I don't really sew. It's something that I do want to learn eventually, so like I can independently do my own works instead of just like buying them and stuff. As for um, craftsmanship, I'm starting to get into it. For this, which was supposed to be this year's Comic Con, I was going to make this cosplay that's basically, I don't really want to spoil it because it was supposed to be a surprise cosplay.
Oh, okay. Well, then you don't have to. You don't have to bring it up. Then that's fine. If you're gonna save that for a surprise, then just keep it that way. But yeah, yeah, closet cosplay. I didn't realize that was the term. Like that was something that I wanted to do when I was like trying to get into it as well. Like there was like I did like I technically cosplayed like Clark Kent from Superman. Just throw on some fake glasses, wore a button-up shirt with the Superman T-shirt under it. But like I don't know, that's not really cosplaying. They're just like it's very easy. Anyone can do that. So that kind of just stuck with the simple stuff. But yeah, like that's the closest I've done to cosplaying. I think I did that, and then I did like emo Peter Parker from like Spider-Man 3, where he wore like all black and like his hair was long. So like I did that. Yeah, that was the closest things I did. I have yet to like make an actual costume. I got like the same friend that I mentioned that got to meet the Naruto voice actress. He's really good at like welding and like 3D art and stuff like that. So he did like a full on like Power Ranger costume. He did a Choji costume with the butterfly wings. That was really cool. And but then yeah, like the differences between that, I'm just like, yeah, I can't do that. it's so I don't know. Like I give cosplayers so much credit and so much like just so much like I can't find the word for it, but like I give them so much credit for just being able to create and craft stuff like that, and like it's like where I admire it so much that I just support what they do because it's something that I can't do. So like I have like this really weird thing where like if there's something I can't do and I see people do it, then I just like really support them with that. So anyone who's like doing cosplay or like that, I really admire that. I give everyone like their credit, whether it's simple stuff or to like really big major things that they can create. But yeah, it's again, it's a really great outlet for creatives, especially like during these conventions and stuff too. I think before we were podcasting, you mentioned something about like doing was it like a makeup tutorial or was it like something that was related to makeup? I wasn't sure what that was. Was that part of the cosplay that you were doing?
Honestly, like, wait, are you talking about this one, the one like the surprise one?
I don't know. It was like you mentioned something like you
Makeup
like
related?
yeah, because like we were gonna we were recording this through video, and we had an audio plan before, but then like you said that you mentioned something about like makeup, and so like you were fine with doing the whole video podcast. I'm kind of like backtracking here. I don't really remember.
It's okay. It's the Friday makeup challenge. The people who were organizing Puerto Rico Virtual Con basically came up with the idea to do this hashtag for like over here Puerto Ricans and anyone else who is interested, and they set up a theme for every Friday to like do a cosplay, like basically a closet cosplay or whatever thing you can do. And I think that the theme for today was like musicals or something like musical related, and I really wanted to participate in this one today. So like I decided to use makeup, which I normally don't do. Like I usually hate makeup. But basically I went out of my way, I guess, to try to participate in this Friday makeup challenge.
That's awesome. Like to have a community like do that and to push different. That's what I found that's like really like to get trending, I guess, is like hashtags on Instagram, like to have something creative or to have everyone just like push that. That way you can have more exposure on social media. But I wanted to piggyback on what you were saying about like how you didn't like to use makeup. Is that, are you like sensitive to certain makeup brands? Is that why, or you just don't like the effort of doing it?
Well, um, so I'm going to kind of like go into a little bit of my backstory, like my personal backstory here. I suffered a lot through acne, and when I was like in middle school and high school as well, and I still am, and it sort of like bugged me how a lot of girls would try to cover their imperfections with makeup. This is kind of like, I guess that it's an unpopular opinion, I guess, but I really like I couldn't understand, I guess, why girls would try to like cover their imperfections. And then as time went on, slowly I started like accepting myself, accepting, like my acne thing, accepting my face and how I look physically. And then I just thought that there really isn't a need for makeup, like there, like I personally, I think that people look a lot better their natural way. And I don't think that, using excessive makeup is necessary. Because if you, for example, see Instagram models, they have like these perfect eyebrows and like these liners on point and, like all that kind of stuff, which I think that personally, I think it's unnecessary. Like I think that your natural beauty is enough and people should accept you as you are. And basically due to that and makeup basically being really pricey, at least over here, I don't know if over there it's like different, but over here it's like really how do you say that in English? It's pricey, like it's a lot of money. For me, like I take a lot of time doing my makeup because it's things that I'm not, like I'm not used to doing, so it takes up a lot of my time. So it's like a lot of effort, money, time, energies, etc. Like a lot of things that I have to put into makeup. So I usually don't wear makeup, and it's basically for cosplay only. Like cosplay is the only reason why I wear makeup. But other than that, I've even done some cosplays, like from my past cosplays. You can see that I'm not wearing like any makeup at all, and maybe it's like lipstick and like done, and it's the wig, which is kind of like a mistake. People, I guess, that don't really like or accept that. But yeah, basically through cosplay, I've learned to sort of deal and accept makeup somehow, and eventually, well, learn to use it. But I usually try not to use it because it takes up a lot of things.
Yeah, cosplay has given a lot of, especially female cosplayers, like cosplay has given them a lot of confidence in going with their costume and just going out to, like, because it's honestly it's a pretty scary kind of thing, to dress up as a character that you love and go out into a public place to just showcase your costume or your cosplay in front of hundreds of people and not knowing if you're going to get any like backlash or any, you know, positive or negative comments. Like I can understand like that kind of anxiety because it's really nerve wracking when you're just in a new area or showing something new to people. But like I've said before earlier, like with Ivy Doom Kitty, that's why I really respect what she says about like body positivity and it's being proud of how you look and just appreciating in yourself and self care and that kind of thing. Um, which is why I feel like cosplay has done a great job. Like the community itself has done a great job for everyone who's different body shapes, sizes, looks, doesn't matter, like skin tones. It doesn't matter. Like it's such an accepting community, which is a really great thing for people who want to be a part of this positive or like this really accepting community. And cosplay's done that. And obviously, like we said before, there's trolls and there's people who want to just say things just to say it because they're behind a computer screen. But I think at the end of the day, it's a great way to find some sort of confidence. And I really I really like what you said. Just being able to accept how you look and not care or like just recognize like what how can I say this, like just being able to really just accept how you look. That's like
Yeah,
the best way.
accept the imperfections,
Yeah,
basically.
like
Yeah.
exactly your imperfections. Like that's like the best way I can put it. And I mean, obviously, makeup is, it is a big thing in the cosplay community too, especially like if they want to do like certain looks or designs. Like there's one makeup artist I follow, Allison Tapitha. She does a very good job with her makeup because
Yes, I've seen her.
yeah,
She's
because like
amazing.
she transforms herself to look like other people, which is insane. I mean, like some people use makeup to just to doll themselves up, but like her skills is super artistic. Like there was one that she did that I really liked. I believe it was like her Jack Sparrow one, or like a lot of it's a lot of like the Johnny Depp characters. Like she
Yeah.
does Edward Scissorhands and like that. Like she just completely transforms herself to where you don't even recognize her. And then like there's some one other artist too. I might be butchering her name, but Sosenka. Like she does like a lot of the Dragon Ball Z type cosplay. Let me see if I can pull this up here. Screen share here with you. That way let's see. There we go. Okay, we're gonna look. Can you see it?
Yeah.
Okay.
I mean, I don't have my glasses on, but
Oh, okay.
I'm-
I'll try to like zoom it up for you. So like Sanka, like she does like this one. Like she does this with
that's
her.
amazing.
Yeah, she does like Kid Buu and Beerus from Dragon Ball Z. Like her stuff is crazy. I've never seen that she does like any videos of like breakdowns of it, but just I follow her on Facebook and Instagram, so like whenever she posts something, I just kind of like immediately like it because like it's crazy like how she does like the craft here, like just her Beerus one. You don't even recognize, like it could be someone completely different. Like you don't even know who's under that mask. But yeah, like makeup artists like that, like I like, but like to what you were saying with like um to what you're saying with like how people just use it to kind of just cover up imperfections. It deals with a lot of like the person themselves too. Like obviously some people who may have insecurities use it as well. But I don't want to like say too much either because I may like sound like I'm bashing on people. I have no intention to. But yeah, to each their own. With the use of like products and to be creative and stuff like that. But again, I respect what you say, Nyah, about that. Just being able to just really accept yourself and to continue to cosplay, whether you look like the character or not. So I really respect that. And I think that's one thing in anime that's slowly changing too. Like I don't know, like there's like this trend right with anime where everyone looks like a certain way, and so like that's where like this whole idea of like you shouldn't dress up like that character because you don't look like that character. My Hero is a big example of like trying to put in more diverse characters. Like one of the characters, Rocklock, he's a black hero in there. So like a lot of the Black American fans, they love that character because they're showing more diverse characters. They're showing more people of color and not just using like different skin colored characters like Piccolo from Dragon Ball Z, where he's green and obviously everyone knows he's a person of color. It's obvious. But then like it's great to see how anime is slowly transitioning and see that to where like they're introducing like different races, diversity, and stuff like that. So I think that's really cool too. I think one that I really appreciate is Attack on Titan. I don't know if you've seen that.
I haven't, but I have like received a lot of spoilers and stuff. So like I kind of know about the characters and stuff, but I haven't seen it.
Yeah, like Attack on Titan, that's really they're more European inspired, but then there's definitely like the idea of just having diverse characters in there. There's like one Asian character. There's different different people in that show. They're not like all exclusively like just one type of person or stuff like that. Like, you can tell by their names, like some of them may be German or like Russian or like different ethnicities. But yeah, it's something that I think that's great in anime so far. Instead of like just like I said before, like covering them up with like different skin colors and making them like an animal type character. And like, yeah, there you go. There's your diversity right there. So I think it's great that they're doing that. So Nyah, before we wrap things up here, again, I want to say thank you so much for just having this time with me to talk about cosplaying and being a part of this community too, and just being a guest on my podcast. And that's what it really matters at the end. Was there anything that you'd like to shout out or plug before we wrap things up here?
Well, I feel like maybe there was something that I was gonna say that I forgot. But overall, like thank you so much for like giving me the opportunity, because there's not like a lot of people that are willing to accept small cosplayers. So I'm really grateful for that part. So thank you, and everyone who is listening right now or will listen in the future.
And for your if people want to follow you on social media, do you have anything besides Instagram? Was Instagram the only social media outlet you have, or do you have anything else?
I have Facebook. Like I have my personal one. I don't have an official cosplay one yet, and I have like Twitter as well. But like I said, like it's my personal one. I haven't really like branched out to make basically on other social medias of my cosplays. Basically, I still have to do that eventually. But yeah.
Okay. Yeah. So I'll just have your Instagram one for folks to follow then.
Yeah.
Yeah. So for anyone who's listening, just follow Nyah on Instagram at Nyah's Cosplay, or I believe it also goes under like Nyah's Cosplays as well, right?
Yeah.
Yeah. Okay. So all the links and stuff will be in the description. the audio or like video podcast and stuff like that. So yeah, make sure you guys follow her and help support her content as well. And it's great to showcase like smaller. I don't want to say smaller cosplayers, because it just I'm categorizing you guys, but like it's great to showcase cosplayers who are starting in the community, because like people don't really see the come up of like cosplaying. It's always like just being exposed to like the major cosplayers, and obviously cosplaying is still a growing community, so it's great to just work with anyone you can, really. And there was, I guess I can go on this last tangent here, like there was times where I've met cosplayers who their heads were like, I don't want to name anyone, but like their head was really big, like they were assholes. And I'm like, really? Like you're just popular because of all your fans here. Like it's not like, if it had not been for your fans, you wouldn't even be in this position. So I feel like it's great to just work with people who are coming up, because they know what it's like to struggle. They know what it's like to try to build a brand. And people who, I mean, not knocking anyone with an accomplished brand or anything, but still, like you got to learn how to, or you got to know that like your fans are the reason why you're able to get to where you're at. And kind of anyone who's like big headed to kind of just be humble. A lot of folks they kind of forget that. So that's why like I gear towards more like people who are coming up, and anyone who's just willing to work with me on the podcast. I'm not trying to find any big names or find anyone that's like gonna help me boost my followers. It's not about that. Like that's why I like doing podcasting, because it gives anyone and everyone a platform to kind of just say whatever they want to say and kind of give their opinions on things without trying to be like, I guess, PC, but I don't want to say that either. Which is why, like, when I messaged you earlier or yesterday, I was like, just feel free to say whatever you want to say. Like, don't think of it like an interview. And anyone that's like a future guest, or anyone who wants to be a future guest on this podcast, that's like my goal too, is to kind of just let people feel free to say and talk about whatever, because people tend to think like interview, like, oh shit, like I gotta put on an act, or I gotta put on a certain face, or like treat it like a job. And I'm like, no, just talk about whatever. I don't care. So
yeah, just talking.
Yeah, but again, I thank you so much for this opportunity, and I look forward to the our second episode together too, because I know that you have a friend that was interested as well. I was actually looking forward to seeing who it was, because you didn't say the name or mention anything about them. You're just like, my friend's interested, so I was really like trying to figure out like, who is it, because it kind of like, it didn't give me anxiety, but I'm just like, I really wanted to find out who it was. But we'll keep that a secret until we reconnect again for our second episode. But yeah, that's pretty much it, you guys. Thank you guys so much for following and listening to Spoiler Force Podcast. Again, don't forget to follow Nyah Cosplays on Instagram. All the links, everything will be in the descriptions as well. And I did want to mention another thing as well. I don't know if by the time this episode airs, if it'll still be going on, but I'll just say it anyway. If I have a YouTube contest going on for the Spoiler First podcast. I'm almost at 500 subscribers, so hopefully, if by that time it's already done, then it's done. But um, if not, then hopefully you guys just follow, like, share the Spoiler First podcast on YouTube. Follow the rules. There's the video, and I have I have all the rules written out too. So I try to keep it really simple. But yeah, it's I think there's I'm giving away Amazon gift cards and stuff like that. So hopefully you guys join the contest too, and that way you guys can try to win something and continue to support the podcast. And again, thank you guys so much for this. I can't say it enough. Thank you guys for listening. This is episode 66. Have a great day. If you enjoyed this episode, make sure to follow, like, share, subscribe, and rate Spoiler Force Podcast. For comments, questions, or criticism, you can email me at rickyvang92@gmail.com or message me on Instagram at instagram.com/rickyvang92.